A super good morning. Wishing you a great day ahead. Welcome to today's episode. Three things that we will talk about: small caps fly high, activists day out, and earnings from NVDA. Stocks tied to a broader economic reopening led gains on Wednesday amid easing concern that the Federal Reserve would boost rates sooner than expected. Energy producers and retailers in the S&P 500 advanced, while tech companies were little changed. The Russell 2000, the index of small caps, climbed about 2%, outperforming major US equity benchmarks. One reason small caps are having a strong day is because of the so-called meme stocks, or those that retail investors have piled into this year, are spiking again. Many meme stocks are in the Russell 2000. Bed Bath & Beyond, AMC Entertainment, BlackBerry and GameStop all rose between 9.9 and 19.2%. Their market capitalizations together are about 34 billion, just over 1% of Russell 2000's 2.7 trillion value. In other stock action, Ford Motor gained about 8.5% after the company announced that it will raise electric vehicle spending to about 30 billion a year through 2025, and that over 40% of vehicle volumes will be electric by 2030. It was a good day to be an activist investor. An activist investor won at least 2 seats on the board of ExxonMobil, a historic defeat for the oil giant that will likely force it to alter its fossil fuel focused strategy and more directly confront growing shareholder concerns about climate change. Exxon said a preliminary vote count showed shareholders backed 2 nominees of engine number 1, an upstart hedge fund owning a tiny fraction of the oil giant stock. The final vote was not yet tallied, and the final composition of the board is also unclear. Also yesterday, a Dutch court ruled that Royal Dutch Shell is partially responsible for climate change and ordered the company to reduce its carbon emissions. In the bond market, the yield on the 10-year Treasury note ticked up to about 1.57 from 1.56, ending a 4-day losing streak. New Zealand Central Bank signaled that it might raise key interest rates in the second half of the year, which could make it one of the first developed markets to reverse the COVID-era rate cuts. Kiwi government bonds sold off, with the yield on the benchmark 10-year bond rising as high as 1.90 from 1.78 on Tuesday. On to commodities now. We spoke about China's clampdown on excessive speculation. It's having a decent impact on inflation expectations in various markets. Yesterday, corn rebounded from an earlier slide as traders assessed China's clampdown on imports, which affects only a minority of cargoes. On the other hand, WTI gained as a drop in US inventories offset continued concerns about fallout from an Iran deal. Copper and most other base metals climbed after most central bank officials said inflationary pressures won't last. Lastly, we'll talk about earnings from NVDA. NVDA had good news and bad news for the investing world on Wednesday evening. The chip maker earned more than expected, reported surprisingly strong sales at its closely watched data center and video game segments, and issued upbeat forecasts about the fiscal second quarter. But management also said a shortage of semiconductors is expected to continue for months. We expect to remain supply constrained in the second half of the year, is what the CFO said. A continued shortage of chips would be a problem for companies trying to build or expand data centers, for consumers interested in high-end video game gear, and for companies such as Nintendo that manufacture those products. NVIDIA shares retreated about 0.6% in extended session. Shares closed ahead about 0.3% during the regular trading. The company reported fiscal first quarter net income of about 1.91 billion, which amounts to about 3.03 a share, compared with a net profit of about 917 million or 1.47 a share a year earlier. Adjusted for stock compensation, among other things, earnings were at about $3.66 a share. Revenue has surged about 84% to about 5.66 billion. Our data center business continues to expand as the world's industries take up NVDA AI to process computer vision, conversational AI, natural language understanding and recommender systems, is what the chief executive said. NVIDIA's RTX has reinvented computer graphics and is driving upgrades across the gaming and design markets, is also something that he added. NVDA stock has gained about 20% this year. The SOXX ETF has advanced about 12%. The benchmark S&P 500 is up about 12% in the same period. Last week, NVIDIA announced a 4-to-1 stock split. Keeping with technology, quick mention, Xiaomi's profit and revenue beat. The US formally removed it from a blacklist. Pinduoduo rose as its adjusted loss and revenue were better than expected. That's the update. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.